In design, the ceiling is often referred to as the fifth wall, and for good reason. This is a big, expansive space, so I ignore it when planning the interiors of the rest of the room. A coffered or box beam ceiling made with softwood lumber is a great way to add a major focal point to this often overlooked area. Coffereds technically refers to a series of sunken ceiling panels, usually in the shape of squares. This room already had ceiling beams in place, which made redesigning these into coffereds pretty easy. To create this look, the first thing we needed to do was demo the trim that was boxing out the beams, demo the old paneling that was installed on the ceiling, and cap off all the electrical. We then used the existing ceiling beams to map out the grid for the new coffereds. Since these beams already created the horizontal lines, we used this as a guide to map out the spacing for the vertical beams to create equally sized quadrants. If you don't already have ceiling beams in your house and want to create coffered ceilings, just measure your space and divide it evenly. You may want to plan your measurements around any light fixtures to avoid having to move any electrical. Next, you'll want to choose the type of wood that best fits your project. I chose Eastern White Pine because it's available locally, has a fine grain, and holds finishes beautifully, so it will make for a great focal point in this room. Then we measured and cut out the boards that will create the vertical part of the boxes. These get squared up to the existing horizontal beams and toe-nailed into place. Once this was complete, we added drywall as the base inside the coffers. Of course, if you already have drywall, then you would just install the coffered ceilings right over it. The next step was to trim out the boxes with 1x6 premium grade Eastern White Pine. Each beam needed 3 pieces of wood, 2 pieces for each side, and 1 piece to cap the bottom. We measured for the bottom piece first and installed this with 2-inch finish nails that were countersunk to hide any visible hardware. The side pieces went on next, and we designed these to be approximately 3/4 of an inch longer than the beams to create a reveal or a 3D effect. And from there, the process was the same. Measure, cut, and install with countersunk finish nails until each box was trimmed out. Then we filled all the nail holes with stain-grade wood filler. The final step was to stain the coffers. I chose a semi-transparent light stain that really allows the beauty of the wood's natural grain and color to come through. What might have once been the most boring part of your room can easily become the most interesting. Visit woodnaturally.com for more information on interior design projects just like this.